What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so later on today, I think it's around 8 o'clock p.m., Game 6 of the ALCS between the Seattle Mariners and the Toronto Blue Jays will commence. I think they're in Toronto. The next two games are in Toronto. And with that particular series, you know what I'm saying, I don't really care who wins. I mean, it would be nice to see Toronto back in the World Series for the first time in, some 30, 32 years, I guess. But at the same time, Seattle, the Mariners, they've never been to a World Series, never won a World Series. So that would be historically significant if Kyle Riley, of course, who set a record for most home runs ever this season by a catcher with 60. Well, technically, I think he had 50 as a catcher, and there were some other games where he was playing other position, but still a remarkable season. Man, if he was to help lead his team to a World Series, that would be remarkable. But the World Series is not yet set because of that series. But in the NLCS, that series is over, and Shohei Ohtani is the toast of the town because of his Game 4 performance. In Game 4, the Los Angeles Dodgers swept the Milwaukee Brewers. And in that game, Shohei Ohtani had a game for the ages. He pitched 6 shutout innings, had 10 strikeouts, and as a hitter, hit 3 home runs. Not one, not two, but 3 home runs, which earned him the MVP which made him the MVP of the NLCS. For the series, he had 357, 500 on base percentage, and 1.143 slugging percentage. Remarkable numbers. Now, for this postseason, he's only hitting 220. On top of last year's postseason, we only hit, I think, 230. So overall, his batting average has not been very impressive. But the slugging percentage of 634 is pretty good. The on-base percentage of 333 is okay. Not great, but okay. And this is what was leading me to this. I see a lot of people saying Shohei Ohtani is the greatest player of all time. Shohei Ohtani is better than Babe Ruth, and then you got these same fans who don't know a damn thing about the history of the game, saying things about players they don't know what they're talking about. So I'm gonna tell you something that really irritates me. I see people say stuff like, "Well, pitchers today throw harder than they did just 15, 20 years ago." And they look at the pitch numbers, and they look at the velocities and all of that, and they say, well, see, this proves what we're talking about. So the pitchers today are more difficult to hit off of because they throw harder. And to that I say poppycock, because first of all, you act like the 90s and 2000s didn't have flamethrowers. Like they didn't have Pedro Martinez. Like we didn't have Randy Johnson. Like we didn't have Roger Clemens. You know what I'm saying? Like we never had Nolan Ryan. There were a lot of flamethrowers in the 90s, in the 80s, especially the 90s and 2000s onward. Hell, when you look at the Braves pitching staff, most of those guys weren't necessarily flamethrowers. They were just great pitchers. The Braves had perhaps, from top to bottom, the greatest pitching staff I've ever seen in my life. When you talk about Tom, at one point they had Greg Maddux and John Smoltz, Tom Glavine, John Rocker, Kerry Millwood. All those guys was great, man. Good. Even the worst pitchers were good, but it didn't necessarily guarantee them a championship. Only won, even with the great hitting. On paper, statistically, we look at the Braves, you think, damn, why did the team win more often? You know? But when you look at the fact that these pitchers, I'm gonna get off this point and talk about Ohtani, but I just want to get a point across. Pitchers today don't have the same deep pitch counts that pitchers from the past had. Like these guys today don't go 7, 8, or into the ninth inning or throw a complete game. They don't do it like that, like they did just 15, 20 years ago. So, of course, if you have this platoon of pitchers, where you have one guy who's pitching 5 innings or just enough to get the victory, or pitching 4.5 innings, then you have another pitcher who pitches 3 innings, and then another pitcher who pitches the rest of the game, of course, their velocity is going to be high because they don't have the pitch count that's deadening their arm. They're not having the natural wear and tear and the wear down of throwing so many pitches. Because if you throw a lot of pitches, eventually you're going to wear down, especially if you're a flamethrower. That's what made Nolan Ryan so incredible. Nolan Ryan and Randy Johnson are two of the greatest anomalies I've ever seen in my life, especially Nolan Ryan. How in the fuck was this guy able to play 27 years in major leagues and pitch that long and throw that hard for that long? 329 career victories, not mistaken, for Nolan Ryan. 5,714 strikeouts. 7 shutouts, if I'm not mistaken, in his career. 7. No, excuse me. 7 no-hitters. 7 no-hitters in his career. And if he had more control, he probably would have had 14 or 15. But anyway, getting back to Shohei Ohtani, you can't be the GOAT if you only have 280 career home runs as a major leaguer. You can't be the GOAT if you only got 669 career RBI. You can't be the GOAT if you only got 165 stolen bases in your career. You just can't be. Now, if you do combine his major league career with his career over in Japan, well, if you combine those numbers, he's a 10-time All-Star. He's a 2-time champion. He's a 4-time league MVP. Trying to look at some of these combined figures. If you combine his pitching career in Japan and in America, he's 81-35 as a pitcher. That's a great record. 81-35, right? Babe Ruth was 94-46. And Babe Ruth essentially stopped pitching when he was about 24 years old. So when he was 24, Babe Ruth was already 94-46 on his way to a Hall of Fame pitching career. Shohei Ohtani is already 30, and he doesn't even have 100 career pitching wins. I think we have to really dial some of this stuff back down, dial it down a notch. If you're talking about peak, right? If you're talking about his peak overall, it's great. His peak numbers have been phenomenal. To do what he did last year, 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases, his peak is great. But no, I don't rank Shohei Ohtani better than Barry Bonds. He's not a better hitter than Barry Bonds. No way. He's not. Anybody that watched Barry Bonds and watching Shohei Ohtani, you try to tell me he's a better hitter than Barry Bonds? No. 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 Ruth, by the way, really didn't become a full-time hitter until what? You see, he debuted in 1914, 15, 16, 17, 18. He didn't even really become a halfway hitter as far as being featured on as a hitter until his fifth year, really his sixth year in the majors. Even if you consider that was the dead ball era, right? Where if you hit 7 home runs, that was a lot in the season. Even if you consider that, if Ruth had been a hitter since he got in the league, he probably hit at least 50 more home runs. So conceivably, Ruth could still be the all-time home run leader if he had been a hitter from the time he started in the league. I mean, come on, man. Like, Mark McGwire had 1,400 career RBI. Hank Aaron, 2,297. You know, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, 3,000 career hits. We can't change the rules because of this guy. And that's my only blowback, or pushback, I should say, when it comes to Shohei Ohtani. Like, people, I think, are too caught up in recency bias. That's becoming a big problem. I remember a couple of years ago, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, people saying Mike Trout was the GOAT. I mean, come on, man. Let these guys have their careers, and let's stop living in hyperbole. Let's stop pushing hyperbole. Let's let these guys have their careers and then make the determination. Because, my God, man, people just say anything nowadays. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it. What you guys think?